All right, let's talk about day 65 for the Plazm protocol. We're looking at some really fascinating numbers today. Now, on the surface, it looks like a pretty brutal crash, but if you dig just a little deeper, a totally different story starts to emerge. And it all boils down to one central mystery.
So, how is this even possible? It sounds completely backward, right? I mean, price is a thing we all watch. But for this protocol, a huge price drop seems to be setting off a chain reaction that's actually making it healthier on the inside. So let's peel back the layers and see what's really going on here.
Okay, first up, the big, scary number that's got everyone's attention. The price of Plazm dropped 30% in just one day, landing at only 48 cents. Now, for most projects out there, a 30% dip is a five-alarm fire. It's a sign that something is seriously, seriously wrong.
And yeah, the market is feeling it. The fear and greed index, which kind of takes the temperature of market sentiment, is sitting at a 28. That puts us squarely in the fear zone. No surprise there. And this slide, right here, this is the whole paradox in a nutshell. While the market is full of fear, the protocol's own internal health, it's not just holding on, it's actually getting better. So how on earth does that work? Let's find out. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, you know the drill. This is just for educational purposes. It's definitely not financial advice. Please always do your own research. All right, now that we've set the stage, let's look at our first piece of evidence in this whole mystery. We're going to look at the protocol's price floors because they're doing something really, really weird. And here's where it gets wild. While the market price was taking a nosedive, the base floor, which is a mathematically calculated minimum value, it didn't go down. In fact, it went up from 27 cents yesterday to 33 cents today. So just let that sink in for a second. That's a 22% increase in the system's foundational safety net, all happening while the market was in a panic. It's like the ground beneath the price is literally rising up to catch it. And if we zoom out to look at the last 2 days, the trend is even crazier. The price of Plazm got cut in half, a 50% drop. And in that exact same period, the base floor went up by 50%. I mean, they're moving in completely opposite directions. Now, this isn't some random fluke. This is actually part of the design. It's a mechanism called the compression cascade. Here's how to think about it. As the price falls, it starts to look way more attractive for people to lock up their tokens, to stake them for long-term rewards instead of just selling them at a loss. And when they do that, it pulls tokens out of the liquid supply, which mathematically forces that floor price to rise. It's pretty genius. So that's the theory of the compression cascade. It sounds cool, but is that what people are actually doing? Let's check the data and see how users are behaving during this crash. And would you look at that? The data tells a really surprising story. People are not panic selling. They're doing the exact opposite. The total amount of Plazm staked, just locked up in the system, jumped by 10% in one day. That's thousands of tokens being taken off the market and committed for the long haul. And this chart really shows you why the system can handle this kind of stress. Look at this. A whopping 60% of the entire supply is staked. Another 12% has been burned, gone forever. That leaves a tiny, tiny 3% of the supply that's actually liquid and available to be sold. There's just not much fuel for a panic-selling fire in the first place. Okay, so people are locking up their assets instead of selling them. That's clue number 2. For our final piece of the puzzle, let's see what's happening to the protocol's cash reserves, its defense funds. This is where the story gets really incredible. For 4 days straight, while the market's been in a downturn, the protocol's stablecoin defense funds, basically its treasury of hard cash, have been going up, day after day. The system is actually making and saving more money during the storm. And here's why that's so important. Right now, those defense pools are holding over $57,000. The maximum potential sell pressure over the entire next week is calculated to be just under $51,000. So what does that mean? It means the protocol already has enough cash on hand to cover 112% of all the expected selling for the next 7 days. It's more than prepared. So all this strengthening we're seeing, the rising floor, more people staking, the bigger defenses, it shows the system isn't just reacting, it's actively getting ready for what might be its biggest challenge yet. And that challenge is called Day 78. In just 13 days, there's a huge event that's going to unlock almost 2.3 million tokens all at once. This could create over $1 million of immediate selling pressure on the market. It's a big deal. But here's the final twist. Because of this price drop, the very thing that looked so scary at the start, and because of all the fundamental strengthening we've just walked through, the dollar value of that future pressure is now 70% lower than it was at its peak. The crash has effectively helped diffuse its own biggest future threat.
So let's just put it all together. What's the verdict on our mystery? Well, the 30% price crash, as scary as it was to watch, actually kicked off this amazing cascade of positive effects. It pushed the floor price up, it convinced people to stake for the long term, it allowed the defenses to get stronger, and it massively reduced a future risk. The market feels fear, but the fundamentals, they're undeniably stronger. You know, there's a word for this. It's called anti-fragility. It's for a system that doesn't just survive stress or resist it. It actually uses that stress and chaos as fuel. It feeds on it to become healthier and more resilient than it was before.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. We've just seen exactly how this protocol performs under extreme pressure. We've seen it get stronger. But what do you think happens to all of that stored up strength, that rising floor and all those locked assets, when the market pressure finally lets up and things get calm again? Now that is the million-dollar question.